coffee is pretty good. Let me wash it down somewhat. Oh, sir, I think that water's a little bit too sweet. In fact, it's a little bit bitter.
In 1799, Humphrey Davy made a discovery that had changed the world of medicine forever. Davy, a chemist and inventor, was working at the Pneumatic Institution in Bristol, England, when he discovered the properties of nitrous oxide. After hearing reports of its use as a recreational drug, Davy decided to study its effects more closely and began conducting experiments on himself and as well as others. What he found was a gas with the ability to produce feelings of euphoria and exhilaration, as well as a powerful anesthetic effect. Although Humphrey Davy made his discovery of nitrous oxide in 1799, it wasn't until the 1840s that anesthesia began to be widely used in medicine. Prior to the use of anesthesia, surgeries and other medical procedures were incredibly painful and patients had to endure immense suffering. There was no way to relieve the pain during these procedures, and many people were too afraid to undergo surgery due to the fear of intense pain. Life before anesthesia was vastly different from what we know today. Surgeries were often performed quickly to minimize the amount of time the patient had to endure the pain, and many procedures that were now considered routine were too risky to be performed. Patients had to rely on sheer willpower to endure the procedures, and many people suffered from severe emotional and psychological trauma as a result. It wasn't until the discovery of nitrous oxide and other anesthetics that surgeries and medical procedures became safer and more comfortable for patients. Today, we take for granted the ability to undergo surgery with minimal pain and discomfort, but it was the pioneering work of Humphrey Davy and others that made this possible. Horace Wells was an American dentist who made a significant contribution to the field of anesthesia. He was the first to use nitrous oxide as a general anesthetic during a surgical procedure and was a true pioneer in his field. In 1844, Wells witnessed a performance by showman Gardner Quincy Colton and shop clerk Samuel Cooley. Colton struck Cooley's knees with a wooden stool, and Wells, watching the performance, accidentally acknowledged the potential use of nitrous oxide in medicine. Despite the crowd's laughter, Wells realized the potential use of nitrous oxide as an anesthetic and began experimenting with the gas in his dental practice. Horace Wells soon became a vocal advocate for its use in medicine. However, despite his early successes, Wells faced a major setback when one of his demonstrations of nitrous oxide during a surgical procedure was not successful. The patient felt significant pain during the procedure, and Wells' reputation was badly damaged. He struggled with depression and eventually committed suicide on January the 24th, 1848. William T. G. Morton was an American dentist who made a significant contribution to the pioneering of anesthesia. Morton was inspired by the work of Horace Wells and was determined to find a safe and effective method of using nitrous oxide as an anesthetic. He began researching the work of Humphrey Davy and conducting his own experiments with nitrous oxide. Morton's breakthrough came in 1846 when he successfully demonstrated the use of ether as an anesthetic during a surgical procedure. This was the first time a patient underwent a surgical procedure with complete loss of sensation. James Young Simpson was a Scottish physician who made a significant contribution to the field of anesthesia. After noticing the undesired side effects of ether, Simpson was determined to find an alternative anesthetic that was safer and more effective. Simpson conducted extensive research and experimentation and eventually discovered the anesthetic properties of chloroform. He began using chloroform during surgical procedures and was able to demonstrate its safety and efficiency. This helped to establish chloroform as a valuable tool in medicine and paved the way for its widespread use. One of the most notable moments in Simpson's career was when he performed a successful delivery using chloroform on Queen Victoria. This demonstration helped to popularize the use of chloroform during childbirth and helped to establish it as a preferred anesthetic for obstetrical procedures. By the late 1800s, the contributions of Humphrey Davy, Horace Wills, William T.G. Morton, and James Young Simpson has helped to establish anesthesia as a valuable tool in medicine. With the widespread use of nitrous oxide, ether, and chloroform, anesthesia is becoming increasingly popular among healthcare professionals and patients alike. As the field of anesthesia continued to evolve and improve, more and more anesthetics were discovered, each offering new and improved ways to control pain during surgical procedures. The popularity of anesthesia continued to grow, and by the 1950s it had become a standard part of medical practice and was widely used in hospitals and clinics around the world. As people began to see the benefits of anesthesia in reducing pain and suffering and improving patient outcomes, its popularity grew. Because of this, demand for anesthetics increased, and the need for a more efficient and cost-effective way of producing them became apparent. In response to this demand, manufacturers began to develop methods for mass-producing anesthetics in factories. One of the first anesthetics to be produced in factories was ether. Companies started producing ether in large quantities using a process that involved distillation and purification of the raw materials. This process made it possible to produce ether in large quantities at a lower cost and with a greater consistency than ever before. Along with ether, nitrous oxide and chloroform were also produced in factories, using methods that involved the extraction of the anesthetic gases from the raw materials. The development of these mass production methods helped to reduce the cost of anesthetics, making them more accessible and affordable for healthcare professionals and patients alike, further increasing anesthetics' prominence. The field of medicine has made significant advancements in the 20th century that have greatly aided the benefits of anesthesia. One of the key areas of improvement was in the development of more advanced and effective anesthetic drugs. Scientists and researchers discovered new anesthetic agents that were safer, more effective, and that had fewer side effects. This was particularly important for patient safety and allowed for a greater range of procedures to be performed under anesthesia. Another area of improvement was in the field of monitoring and control. With the advancement of technology, healthcare professionals were able to monitor patients more closely and accurately during anesthesia. This allowed for earlier detection of adverse reactions and improved patient outcomes. The development of new equipment and techniques also allowed for greater control over the delivery of anesthesia, reducing the risk of overdose and underdose. In addition, the 20th century saw a significant improvement in the training and education of anesthesia professionals. New standards and guidelines were established, and education programs were developed to ensure that healthcare professionals were well trained in the use of anesthesia. This helped to improve the quality of care and reduce the risk of complications during procedures. Finally, this 20th century also saw the development of new surgical techniques and procedures that have greatly benefited from the use of anesthesia. With the ability to control pain and provide muscle relaxation, healthcare professionals were able to perform more complex and intricate procedures with greater ease and safety. In conclusion, the 20th century saw significant advancements in the field of medicine that greatly aided the benefits of anesthesia. These advancements have improved patient safety, quality of care, and the range of procedures that can be performed under anesthesia. The field of anesthesia continues to evolve and improve, ensuring that patients receive the best possible care during procedures.